"Who are you?" she asked, her voice laced with suspicion. "My name is Kataali," Kataali replied, her heart pounding. The moment Kesewaa heard the name, she froze. Her face turned pale, and she collapsed to the ground instantly. Kataali had become homeless, wandering the streets with no memory of her past and no place to call home. She had no money for proper medical treatment and had even forgotten that she once had a child. Meanwhile, Kesewaa was raising and educating Kingsford Oduro, Kataali's stolen son, in luxury. Kataali managed to find shelter in an uncompleted building in Accra. Her memory loss made it hard for her to hold a job. She often forgot her duties or got angry easily, leading to her being fired repeatedly. Desperate to survive, she started offering door-to-door laundry services for instant pay, enduring tough times in the bustling city. Kingsford, on the other hand, never experienced any hardship. Kesewaa pampered him excessively, fearing that any little mistake might harm her only child. He grew up undisciplined, never having to do chores or face consequences for his actions. 20 years later, tragedy struck when Mr. Oduro died in a car accident on the Accra-Tema motorway while on his way to a business meeting. Kesewaa was left alone to raise Kingsford. As Kesewaa aged and her health deteriorated, Kingsford took over the family business after graduating from university. Kataali's life in Accra was filled with unimaginable pain and suffering. She faced countless challenges just to make it through each day. One day, while wandering the city, she came across Kesewaa's house. Despite her memory loss, she felt an odd familiarity and a heavy weight in her heart. The house seemed to trigger something deep within her, as if she knew it from somewhere. Every day, Kataali would sit near the house, hoping to remember more about why it felt so familiar. For over 2 months, she would spend her days near the house, returning each evening with a sense of emptiness and frustration. The people around the area began to notice her regular presence, but she never approached anyone, just watching and waiting, lost in the fragments of her shattered memory. Her persistence was driven by a faint glimmer of hope that she might one day piece together the puzzle of her past. One early morning, Kataali sat outside the grand mansion as she had done for the past 2 months. As the sun began to rise, she saw an elderly woman emerge from the gated house to tend to the flowers at the back of the building. The woman was Kesewaa, who had aged significantly. Kataali, now an adult young woman, felt an inexplicable urge to approach her. With a deep breath, Kataali walked up to Kesewaa. "Good morning," she greeted softly, her voice trembling. "Please, do you know the owner of this house?" Kesewaa, startled by the sudden presence, looked up. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice laced with suspicion. "My name is Kataali," Kataali replied, her heart pounding. The moment Kesewaa heard the name, she froze. Her face turned pale, and she collapsed to the ground instantly. Shocked and terrified, Kataali ran away from the scene, not knowing what had just happened. Kesewaa was quickly admitted to the hospital, where she was treated and later discharged. The encounter haunted her. How could Kataali be alive? Why hadn't she come for her son if she was alive all this time? Or had Kesewaa seen a ghost? These questions plagued her mind, intensifying her fear and guilt. The fear of her crime being exposed gnawed at her constantly. If the world, and especially Kingsford, learned about what she had done to Kataali, it would bring unimaginable shame. This fear weakened Kesewaa's health further, her blood pressure soaring and cholesterol levels rising. The stress was too much for her heart to bear. She couldn't confide in anyone about what she had seen, leaving her to wrestle with her demons alone. Not everyone atones for their crimes on this earth. Some live free and prosperous lives, even after causing immense pain to others. The saying that karma doesn't work on everyone rang true in Kesewaa's case. Unfortunately, she passed away, taking her secrets to the grave. Kingsford, now 25, inherited all the properties owned by the late Mr. Oduro and Kesewaa, becoming a very successful young man. He never learned the truth about his biological mother. 6 months after Kesewaa's death, Kataali found herself drawn back to the mansion. The memory of that place gnawed at her, fragments of her past trying to break through the fog of her memory loss. Each visit brought more revelations, though incomplete and fleeting. Her mind struggled to piece together the shattered remnants of her life, the truth just out of reach. As she continued to visit the mansion, the pieces of her past slowly began to align. Though she wasn't fully recovered, Kataali's persistence showed that sometimes the path to the truth is long and arduous. Her journey was filled with pain and uncertainty, but each step brought her closer to the answers she sought. Every day, Kataali would go and sit beside Kingsford's gate, hoping to find some clue about her past. One morning, she saw Kingsford outside the house. Desperately hungry, she rushed to him, falling to her knees. "Please, give me some food. I'm hungry," she begged. Kingsford looked at her with disdain. "Get her out of here," he ordered the security officer. The next day, Kataali returned, pleading with the security guard to let her see Kingsford. When the guard relayed her request, Kingsford yelled, "Drive her away! I don't want to see her." Kataali cried bitterly, but didn't give up. She kept returning every day, hoping to see Kingsford. Even just watching him leave the house gave her a strange sense of comfort. She wasn't sure if Kingsford was her son, but something deep inside her told her there was a hidden truth. One day, Kingsford and his girlfriend Esther came out for some fresh air. Kataali rushed to them and touched Esther's arm. She looked dirty and wore tattered clothes. Infuriated, Kingsford slapped her hard. "Didn't I tell you not to come near this house again?" he shouted. Kataali knelt on the ground, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. Please, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten for days. I come here every day looking for work so I can survive. Please, help me. I'm ready to serve you." Esther, moved by Kataali's desperation, asked gently, "What's your problem?" "I have no food and nowhere to go," Kataali sobbed. "Please, let me work for you. I'm willing to do anything." Kingsford was unmoved. He walked away, leaving Esther with Kataali. Esther told Kataali to wait outside and went to speak with Kingsford. "Kingsford, please," she implored. "The woman is old and clearly in need. Ever since your mother died, we haven't had anyone to help with the house chores. Let's give her a chance. She might be of help." Kingsford loved Esther dearly, and her words softened his heart. He reluctantly agreed, and they brought Kataali into the house as a housemaid. Though not fully recovered, Kataali's condition was better than before. However, Kingsford remained unfriendly, and Kataali was too scared to ask him anything about his birth or parentage. One day, Kingsford asked Kataali to prepare tea and eggs for breakfast. While he waited in the hall, he smelled smoke. Rushing to the kitchen, he found the egg burning on the stove, forgotten by Kataali. "Kataali!" he roared, slapping her hard. "Are you mad? Do you want to burn the house down?" Kataali was devastated, tears streaming down her face. She apologized. "I'm so sorry, sir. It was an accident." Kingsford wouldn't forgive her. He snubbed her and stormed off to his room. Later, when Esther returned, Kataali tearfully recounted what had happened. Concerned, Esther went to Kingsford. Kingsford, she said softly, Kataali made a mistake, but she's trying her best. Please forgive her. She's old and has been through so much. Reluctantly, Kingsford nodded. Though he didn't apologize to Kataali, he agreed to let the incident pass. Esther's compassion and patience gradually began to influence Kingsford, making him see Kataali not just as a servant, but as a human being who deserved kindness and respect. One sunny afternoon, Kataali was responsible for doing the laundry. Esther had given her a delicate silk dress to wash, and in her confusion, Kataali mistakenly mixed it with the colored clothes. The dress emerged from the wash with an unsightly stain. When Esther discovered the ruined dress, she was furious. Kataali, what have you done to Kingsford's dress? Esther realized that if Kingsford finds, he would be angry, so she told Kataali to go and throw it away, but not knowing Kingsford has heard the complaints, he rushed to Kataali and slapped her again for staining his clothes. Kataali's voice trembled as she tried to explain, I'm so sorry, boss. It was an accident. I didn't mean to ruin it. Kingsford's eyes flashed with anger. An accident? Do you know how expensive this dress is? You're always making these stupid mistakes. I'm sick of it. Kataali, you're on thin ice. One more mistake and you're out. Kataali's head hung low, her cheeks burning with humiliation. Kingsford called Esther to his room and told her that Kataali is a mad woman and she should let her leave this place before she causes further damage. But Esther told him that he is right, but they should give him some time and she would change. One morning, Kataali was tasked with cleaning the living room, a space adorned with priceless artifacts. As she dusted the shelves, her trembling hands accidentally knocked over an expensive porcelain vase, shattering it into pieces. The sound of the crash echoed through the mansion, drawing Kingsford's attention. Kataali, what have you done again? Kingsford's voice boomed as he entered the room, his face contorted with anger. Do you have any idea how much that vase cost? Kataali, tears welling in her eyes, knelt down to pick up the shards. I'm so sorry, sir. It was an accident. Kingsford's rage did not subside. An accident? This is why I can't trust you with anything valuable. You're always messing things up. Esther, who had been watching from the doorway, came to Kingsford to apologize. Kingsford, asked Esther, why do we keep her around? She's nothing but a liability. Kataali's heart ached as she gathered the broken pieces, feeling every bit of her worthlessness. Kingsford's closed the kitchen and the fridge and Kataali that there will be no food for her today, and said to her, at least this punishment will bring back your senses. The whole day, Kataali wasn't given any food. One day she confronted Esther and asked her about Kingsford. She mentioned her name and told her that Kingsford's parents were dead. His father died in a car accident and his mother died about a year ago. She asked if their names, but Esther was surprised and asked her why she keeps asking questions about Kingsford's parent. And Kataali apologized for asking too much, but Esther said no problem. His mother was called Kesewaa and his father was called Oduro. Kataali was shocked, but she couldn't say a word and left to her room. She felt something was missing. She could sense that she is the right place and Kingsford could be her son. But who is she to tell Kingsford about this? Sometimes she feels that maybe she is these memories because her memory problems, and she wasn't much confident in her inner thoughts. One day, Kataali was tasked with administering Kingsford's medication. In her confusion, she gave him the wrong pills, which made him feel ill. When Kingsford discovered the mistake, his anger was uncontrollable. Kataali, what did you give me? These aren't my pills. Kingsford's voice was filled with fury. Kataali's hands shook as she realized her mistake. I'm so sorry, sir. I must have mixed them up." Kingsford's face turned red with rage. "Mixed them up?" He slapped Kataali and said, "You could have killed me. You're a danger to everyone in this house." Kingsford, glaring at Esther, said, "This is beyond unacceptable. She needs to go." Kataali's tears fell as she realized the gravity of her error. Esther told Kataali this is her last warning, and she is tired of defending her always, and if she keeps following her, she would end her relationship. 2 months later, something serious happened. Esther had given Kataali precious gold chains belonging to Kingsford to polish. In her confusion, Kataali misplaced it and couldn't remember where she had put it. When Esther asked for the necklace, Kataali's mind went blank. "Where's the necklace, Kataali? I gave it to you to polish." Esther's voice was filled with impatience. Kataali's hands trembled as she tried to remember. "I'm so sorry, Miss Esther. I can't remember where I put it." Esther's eyes flashed with anger. "You can't remember? That necklace is worth a fortune." Kingsford, overhearing the conversation, stormed into the room. "What's going on here?" Esther turned to him, her face a mask of fury. "Kataali lost your necklace." Kingsford's eyes blazed with anger. "Kataali, is this true? Did you steal the necklace?" Kataali's heart raced as she shook her head. "No, sir, I didn't steal it. I just can't remember where I put it." Kingsford's face turned red with rage. "I've had enough of your excuses. You are nothing but a thief and a liar." As Kataali tried to defend herself, Kingsford's anger boiled over. He raised his hand and slapped her across the face, the force of the blow knocking her to the ground. Kataali's tears flowed freely as she clutched her cheek, the pain of the slap mingling with the pain in her heart. Esther, seeing the severity of the situation, tried to calm Kingsford down. "Kingsford, please. Maybe it was just a mistake. Let's give her a chance to find it." But Kingsford was beyond reason. "No, Esther. She's done this too many times. I'm calling the police." Esther's eyes filled with regret as she realized the situation had spiraled out of control. "Please, Kingsford, just give her a chance." Kingsford shook his head, his anger unwavering. "No, she needs to be held accountable." He called the police, accusing Kataali of theft. The authorities arrived quickly, and despite Kataali's pleas and Esther's attempts to intervene, they took her away in handcuffs. As Kataali was led out of the mansion, she turned to look at Kingsford one last time, her eyes filled with sorrow and betrayal. Kingsford's face remained hard, his anger blinding him to the truth. Kataali, in the police custody, felt sick. Her frail body, already weakened by the emotional trauma, began to give in to the stress and strain of her arrest. The police officers, noticing her deteriorating condition, decided to move her to the police hospital. They reported her condition to Kingsford and Esther, but Kingsford, still blinded by anger and stubbornness, refused to visit her. "Let her stay there," Kingsford said coldly. "She brought this on herself." Esther, however, couldn't shake off the guilt and concern gnawing at her heart. She decided to visit Kataali in the hospital, hoping to provide some comfort and perhaps find a way to resolve the situation. At the police hospital, Esther found Kataali lying in a bed, looking pale and frail. Her heart ached at the sight. She approached Kataali, who was barely conscious, her eyes fluttering open, as Esther gently took her hand. "Kataali," Esther said softly, "I'm so sorry for what happened. I came to see how you're doing." Kataali managed a weak smile, but it was clear she was in pain. As Esther sat by her side, she noticed something that made her heart skip a beat. There, on Kataali's chest, was a birthmark. It was an unusual shape, one that Esther had seen before. Her mind raced as she recalled seeing the exact same birthmark on Kingsford. Esther's shock was palpable. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Could it be possible? Could Kataali be Kingsford's family member or mother? I need to go, Esther stammered, her voice trembling. I'll be back soon, Kataali. Just rest for now. Back at the mansion, Kingsford was sitting in his study, still fuming over the day's events. Esther burst into the room, her face pale and her eyes wide with shock. Kingsford, you need to hear this, she said, her voice urgent. Kingsford looked up, his anger momentarily replaced by confusion. What is it, Esther? Esther took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. I went to see Kataali at the hospital. Kingsford. She has a birthmark on her chest. It's the same birthmark you have. Kingsford's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? Esther stepped closer, her voice trembling. Kingsford, I think Kataali might be your family member or mother. Kingsford's anger began to fade, replaced by a mixture of disbelief and confusion. That can't be. Esther shook her head. Kingsford, you need to see it for yourself. Please, come to the hospital and see her. Reluctantly, Kingsford agreed. Together they drove to the police hospital, both lost in their thoughts. Upon arriving, they were led to Kataali's room. Kingsford approached the bed, his heart pounding as he looked down at the frail woman lying there. Kataali, he said softly, his voice a mixture of anger, confusion, and something else he couldn't quite identify. Show me your chest. Kataali, too weak to resist, slowly unbuttoned her shirt enough to reveal the birthmark. Kingsford's breath caught in his throat as he saw it, the exact same mark he had on his own chest. Kataali's eyes filled with tears. Yes, Kingsford, I'm your mother. I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to find out this way. Kingsford fell to his knees beside the bed, his head buried in his hands. The weight of his actions, the cruelty he had shown to his own mother, crushed him. He wept openly, his tears mingling with Kataali's as she reached out to touch his head. Kingsford wasn't convinced by Esther's revelation at the hospital. Driven by a mix of suspicion and desperation, he rushed back to his mansion alone, his heart pounding as he sped through the streets. He needed proof, something that would confirm the unbelievable truth he had just been told. Once home, he headed straight for the room that had belonged to Kesewaa, the woman he had always known as his mother. His hands shook as he rifled through drawers and closets, searching for any clue that could shed light on his true parentage. Hours passed and his frustration grew, until finally, tucked away in the corner of an old wooden chest, he found a letter. The paper was yellowed with age, the handwriting delicate and familiar. With trembling hands, he opened the letter and began to read. My dearest Kingsford, if you are reading this letter, then I am no longer in this world. My time is running out, and I can no longer carry the burden of this secret. Kingsford, you are the greatest joy of my life, but also my deepest sorrow. For years I have lived with the guilt of what I have done, and now, as I near the end of my days, I must tell you the truth. I am not your biological mother. Your real mother's name is Kataali. She was a gentle, kind-hearted woman. When I met her, I was consumed by envy and despair. I couldn't stand the public ridicule and humiliation of being barren, and in my desperation, I did something unforgivable. I took you from her. I thought I had ended her life, but fate had a different plan. Recently, after over 25 years, I saw her again. She is alive, Kingsford. Your mother is alive. I can't live to see your reunion when I'm alive. The shame and guilt would destroy me. Please, forgive me. my son. I raised you as my own, and I loved you more than life itself. But the shadow of my sin has haunted me every day. When I saw her, she was but a shadow of the woman I remembered. Life had not been kind to her, and I am to blame. I hope one day you will find her, and when you do, please tell her I am sorry. Beg for her forgiveness on my behalf. All my belongings, all that I have, should go to her. They are but a small restitution for the life I stole from her. Kingsford, my sweet boy, please understand that my actions were driven by my brokenness and despair. I wanted a child so desperately, and in my selfishness, I caused immeasurable pain. I pray that you and Kataali can heal the wounds I have inflicted. I wish I could undo the past, but all I can do now is confess my sins and hope for your mercy. With all my love and deepest sorrow, Kesewaa. Tears streamed down Kingsford's face as he read the letter. The weight of Kesewaa's confession crushed him, leaving him gasping for breath. He sank to his knees, clutching the letter to his chest. The woman who had raised him, the woman he had loved as his mother, had been hiding this devastating secret. His thoughts turned to Kataali, lying in a hospital bed, frail and broken. The woman he had treated with such cruelty, the woman he had slapped and accused of theft, was his true mother. The realization tore at his heart, and he felt a deep, agonizing remorse. Kingsford knew what he had to do. He had to make amends, to seek forgiveness from the mother he never knew he had. He hurried back to the hospital, his heart heavy with regret and determination. When he arrived, he found Esther sitting by Kataali's side, holding her hand. Kataali looked up, her eyes weary but filled with a glimmer of hope. "Mother," Kingsford whispered, his voice breaking, "I found the letter. I know everything. Please forgive me." "I'm so sorry, Mother," he cried. "I didn't know. I didn't know." Kataali's eyes filled with tears as she reached out to him. "Kingsford, my son, I never stopped loving you. I forgive you." Esther stood back, tears streaming down her face as she witnessed the emotional reunion. She had never seen Kingsford so vulnerable, so broken. She stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We need to get her out of here, Kingsford. She needs proper care, and she needs to be home." Kingsford nodded, wiping his tears. He stood up, his resolve hardening. "Yes, you're right. I'll make sure she gets the best care. I'll make this right." They spoke to the authorities, explaining the situation and arranging for Kataali's release. Kingsford used his influence to expedite the process, determined to bring his mother home as soon as possible. Back at the mansion, Kingsford transformed one of the guest rooms into a comfortable space for Kataali, ensuring she had everything she needed for her recovery. He hired the best doctors and nurses to take care of her, sparing no expense. Every day, Kingsford sat by her side, talking to her, apologizing, and making amends for the years of pain and neglect. The guilt weighed heavily on him, but he was determined to make up for the lost time. Kataali's health slowly improved, her strength returning as she felt the love and care from her son. She forgave him, understanding that he had been blinded by anger and ignorance. Esther played a crucial role in Kataali's recovery. She spent hours with her, listening to her stories, helping her with physical therapy, and providing emotional support. As the days turned into weeks, the bond between Kingsford and Kataali grew stronger. They talked about the past, shared memories, and made new ones. Kingsford learned about the sacrifices his mother had made, the hardships she had endured, and the love she had always had for him. The mansion, once a place of arrogance and cruelty, became a home filled with love, understanding, and forgiveness. Kingsford's transformation was profound, his heart softened by the realization of his mother's unconditional love. Esther and Kingsford's relationship also grew stronger, their shared experience bringing them closer together. They learned to appreciate the importance of compassion, empathy, and forgiveness. Kataali's presence in the mansion became a symbol of resilience and love. She was no longer just a maidservant. She was a mother, a matriarch, and a beacon of hope. As they celebrated her recovery, Kingsford made a promise to himself and to his mother. He vowed to honor her, to cherish her, and to ensure that she never felt alone or unloved again. In the end, the pain and suffering were replaced by joy and healing, and their home became a place where love and kindness prevailed. And Kataali, with her memories slowly returning, found peace in the arms of her son, knowing that the bond between them was unbreakable and that love had the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Life is much like the intricate work of a goldsmith crafting a precious jewel. The initial stages might be rough and unattractive, filled with challenges and setbacks. But just as the goldsmith hammers and refines the gold, life's trials shape and polish us, revealing our true beauty and strength. The hammering and hitting may be painful, but they are necessary to bring out our finest qualities. To everyone watching, remember to exercise patience and resilience. The beginning might seem tough and overwhelming, but like a goldsmith creating a masterpiece, the end will be bright and beautiful. Embrace the journey, for it is through the struggles that we find our true worth and brilliance. May your struggles and pains bring you eternal joy. May your rough journeys culminate in joy, and may you fulfill your dreams despite trials and setbacks. Comment with Amen. Subscribe to my channel, Anant's Web of Tales, and share where you're watching from. Let's continue to share these powerful stories together. Thank you for being part of our community.